This video is for the Great Package redesign. I'm going to kind of walk you through all of the steps and how to get started with this assignment. This is the first time I'm teaching this, so I'm kind of learning as we go along. So just be aware that things might change. I might make adjustments as needed. But we'll go ahead and get started. I right now actually have my packaging right here. My packaging. This is just what I had for lunch today. So this is my packaging for today. So it's the Life Cuisine Veggie Lovers Vermont White Cheddar Mac and Broccoli Bowl. Okay. So I have it all flattened out. It's really useful if you flatten your product packaging out and that you have it like in front of you. If you have like a photo or a video of it, that's fine too. But you just want to make sure you can see all sides, even like the little tabs here, like make sure to unstick those. It's okay if you like rip some parts. You just want to be, try to be careful about it so you don't like totally destroy the design. So I can see here, I can see the nutrition facts. There's instructions on like how to cook it. So I definitely want to make sure that I include those things. The first step is you're actually going to go to the Google Doc here, and it says the Great Package Redesign Planning Document. So right here, this is your very first step. This is actually a big part of the grade, so you want to make sure you do this step. So here's where you're going to start answering questions. I'm actually going to just make a copy of this. I believe I gave everyone their own copy on Google Classroom, but because I'm the teacher, it just gives me the hard copy. So I'm going to make a copy that I'm just going to type in as an example. All right, so this should be on Google Classroom for you. So I'm just going to answer questions. So what does your packaging contain? What is the product? Let me make sure I worded it right. Vermont White Cheddar Mac and Broccoli Bowl. Okay, so Vermont, White Cheddar Mac and Broccoli Bowl. Basically a frozen lunch. I'm going to just change this, I think, to a different color just so you can see it a little better. What colors does your packaging use? If your packaging uses more than 6, choose the 6 most prevalent colors. Double click on the boxes and add the approximate color in each box by using the fill function. So if we're looking at this package, I'm definitely seeing the prominent colors of black and kind of this lime green. So I'm going to double click on this. And then it's fairly simple, pretty straightforward from here. If I click on this box here, I can go to the fill bucket and I can fill it in with the approximate color. I'm not worried about like doing the exact color, but just kind of getting an approximate color. If you don't see the color you're looking for here, you can always go to the plus sign here where it says add custom color. Here is where you can actually type in a hex code. I'm going to like click and drag. We're going to go to the greens here. It's kind of almost like down at it like that color. Okay, so we got green. I also need to put black in here, so I'll double click on here. Whoops, not double click, just click and choose black. It does have some photography in here, and actually there's also a lighter green portion here, so I'm going to add the lighter green too. The photo has some color in it too that I'm probably going to try and put in here. It's more of like this kind of, it's like a muted, it's actually lighter than that. Let's put a little lighter. It's very light green. Let's see, other colors. So the photography obviously is like kind of the color of the product. So I definitely see some like kind of yellowish brown in here. So I'm going to look for kind of a yellow brown color. So don't be afraid to include colors from the photography as well. I don't know, it's almost kind of orangey brown. Let's do something kind of like that. And then I have more of just like a cream or an off-white. So I'll add that color. And I don't know if I have, I mean, there is white in here. Actually, there is a little bit of orange from the logo, so that, I don't know if you can see that, Life Cuisine. I'm going to add that orange in too, just so we have it. Now, it's just kind of the 6 most prevalent. If you have like rainbow colors, just choose the 6 that you see the most of. You can always add more boxes too if you really want to, but you're not required to do that. And this orange is more of a red orange, so I'm going to change that. Let's make this a little more of a red orange. There we go. I'm just going to say save and close. There we are. Okay. Now I'm going to answer some questions about this. So what do you think is good about the original packaging? So I could take a look and say, I really like the photography in here. I think that really helps really tell you what is in the package. So I'll just say, I like that it shows what is inside the package. Like there's no question about it, right? Like if I'm hungry for mac and cheese with broccoli, that is the meal I want to eat, right? Let me just highlight that to change the color. Okay. Who is my audience? People who just need a quick meal, right? So I really have to just think like, who would buy this, right? Like I bought it, right? But it doesn't mean that just teachers buy this. So I'm going to say people who want a quick meal um, or convenience matters. So you don't have to get super specific here. Like, don't worry about like age necessarily or even gender. I mean, sometimes that does play into it. It really does in some respects. But in this case, I don't think it's just targeting a specific gender or, in terms of age, probably somebody who can operate a microwave. So I guess if I had to choose an age, um, I don't know, maybe like ages. How old are you when you start using a microwave? I don't know, like 9 or 10. We'll just say 10 and up. I feel like from there, if I'm 100 years old, I could still make this. So, all right. So that's my audience. So we have to remember like quick, convenient, like those are selling features of this meal, right? Of this product. And now I'm going to do some research. So researching similar products. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing that because I don't want to waste your time, but research similar products. So here I could like type in a Google search. I'm going to look up other frozen meals. So if I type in, frozen meals here, it's going to come up with a lot of different options, and I'm sure like some delivery options too. But like Stouffer's, Marie Callender's, Lean Cuisine, these are all like competitors, right? These are competitors with the Life Cuisine brand. So you're researching your competition. This is a really important part of developing brand integrity and identity because you don't want it to be exactly the same as somebody else's. You still want that shelf presence. You want it to still stand out, but you obviously don't want to deviate so far that it's like off the wall and makes no sense for what you're trying to convey. So, what do they have in common? What is different? You can just list those there. If I'm looking at the packaging, I can say, oh, well, this one shares that same green. So does this one. The green is kind of a prevalent one in here, but then this one is all red. So it's a, different color scheme there. So just noting the things that are uncommon and things that are different. And then what is at least one thing about the original packaging that you think can be improved? So this is where you really hone in on where you're going to make the biggest change. So you're going to make probably several changes, but looking at this, for me, there's just something super, super busy about this. Like it's just too much. Like it's really in your face. And again, maybe that's not a bad thing, but my aesthetic, I really like to kind of pull back and simplify things. I think that this could be done better by making it less busy. So rather than like having the photography on the sides too, and like so big, like this is way bigger than life size. Like the size of the noodles that I ate today are like, I don't know, a third of that size, like the much smaller. So I kind of feel like I want to scale it down just a little bit, not to, make it less appealing or anything, but just to make it less busy. I want to see if I can simplify this packaging even more to a point where it's a little bit more effective. Like I just kind of want to sell people on it better. The other thing too is that the price point, and this is a good thing too, is to research the pricing. This one is a little more expensive than some of the ones I saw, at least at the store I was at. So if I generally, things that are more expensive, you can kind of go for more of a modern, streamlined effect. So I'm going to type in here, I'm going to turn the numbering off here. I want to simplify, the design so that it is less busy. I do like the green. I might adjust the green to be less like vibrant neon green. So I may or may not adjust the green. We'll see. Green is always kind of a tricky color to play with. And then I move down to the new design. So this is where I'm going to create a new color scheme. This is going to take a little bit of time. So when you're choosing your colors, you can just use the Coolors app here that I really like to use. This is really great for choosing different colors or color schemes. If you haven't used it before, you just click start the generator and then you can choose your colors. It's also really good. I think I wrote that on the wrong document. Oops. All right, let's see. My bad. I wrote it on the original next up. There we go. So I'm going to paste that in there. So then for this one, I'll change that color again. There we go. So then for this one, once I have my colors chosen, like, I don't know, let's say for this color, I really want this yellow in there. I can copy this hex code. I'm just going to do Control C on the keyboard. I'll go back to the document, And then I can just like paste it here. Cool. And then I could fill this in with that exact color too. So since I copied the hex, I'll just show you how that works. Click on that box, go to the fill bucket, do my custom button, just enter that. There's my yellow. So the reason why we do the hex codes again is because you can enter those into Photoshop and Illustrator, and then you have like that color that you can always go back to. It's always going to be the same exact color. So I recommend choosing 6 colors, even if you feel like you're not going to use all of them, just because it's nice to have that palette. You may use all of them or more. If you want to add more boxes, you can do that. This was just created with Google Drawing. So you're going to fill all these boxes up with your colors. Again, you may use the same colors or similar colors. Chances are you're probably going to make some differences. With this design, I'm actually going to borrow their logo, I think. So I'm not going to like redesign their logo. I'm going to keep that. That way I can just really focus on the packaging itself and less on the logo. So I am going to probably keep that red orange because that's part of the logo. And then of course the white and the black because those are the colors of the logo. And then so what elements on the original design do you need to include on the new one? So this is where you kind of get into some legal area. Most companies are required to provide nutrition facts, net weight, so how heavy something is. Like here it says net weight 11 ounces, and then in parentheses 311 grams, because not everywhere measures in ounces. So that's something else. If this was sold in like the UK, for example, it would be probably a different measurement. So you want to make sure you include that. So I know I need to include that. I'm just going to list it. So I'm going to type it out as I see it. Net weight 11 ounces, and then in parentheses 311 grams. Oops, not GR, just G. Okay. And then I also see on the front, and this is required usually, is to list the calories. I believe that was changed not too long ago, actually, where you had to show the calories. So I'm just going to put 410 calories. And then it also includes like 8 grams saturated fat and all of that. So I'll go ahead and I'll list that. I'm not going to do it right now in the video, but eventually I'll add that. I also need to do the expiration date. So here's the expiration. It says December 2023. I don't need to use that exact expiration date, but I do want to include an expiration date. So you can just like use a made up one. But expiration date. Let's do what else here? The barcode. So here's a barcode. The barcode's actually on this tab here. So I'm going to add barcode. Since it is food, it does have nutrition facts. It's just on the back side here. So nutrition facts. We need the instructions. So cooking instructions. This is one of those things where you like looking at it, you're like, oh, this is easy. And then you start getting into it. It's like, wait, a lot. Even how to recycle. So recycling instructions, include that. We care about the environment. Recycling instructions. Let's see, ingredients. We need ingredients. I think we're almost there. Oh, and usually there's some kind of like website or number somebody could call. So we'll just say website / number, like customer service number if somebody has a complaint. Oops. I think that's about it. I don't see much else that I think we need to add. I may have missed something, so I'll just make sure. But I mean, obviously we know that we need the title and like the logo and everything, but I think that's a good list to start. And then how is the new design going to have shelf presence? So how's it going to stand out? So here's where I think that lime green is really helping it. It definitely will kind of give it that pop of color. If we're looking at the competitors, I don't see many other competitors using that lime green color. So I think that actually does kind of help it. So I think, really focusing on bright colors or keeping that lime green might give it shelf presence. I may also consider changing the typography, like making this a little bigger. That, and I kind of feel like, so like Veggie Lovers like is great, but it's also mostly mac and cheese. So, the fact that it's mostly mac and cheese, I guess if you're like, oh my gosh, I love vegetables, like this is really going to be your jam. I am not a huge vegetable person. I like vegetables mixed in with carbs, which makes sense. So maybe less emphasis on the Veggie Lovers and maybe more emphasis on the fact that it's macaroni and cheese and it's white cheddar macaroni and cheese. So let's just say, maybe adjust the veggie lovers to be smaller. So that's kind of a hierarchy thing. And make the mac and cheese words stand out, just to maybe sell it and be like, hey, like, yes, it is healthy. Like, that's not a bad thing. But can we also emphasize that it tastes really good? And it does. It actually really did taste good. Not that this is like a product placement. It was just tasty. Okay. Then what do you want to change about the original design? What are you going to add or subtract? So I kind of already talked about that, but essentially just thinking about, things you're going to add or subtract, you just type that in. How will these changes apply to your product audience? So again, considering your audience, my audience being people who want a quick meal or convenience matters, ages 10 and up. I forgot to add people concerned about their health or eating veggies. So that kind of ties into that vegetable lovers. I don't want to miss that, right? Like that's one reason why I got it. Was because I wanted a meal that hopefully, gives me my 20 grams of protein, that also doesn't, it's not like 5,000 calories, right? So health conscious. So how these changes apply to your product audience? I mean, the green just makes me think of health. It makes me think of vegetables, I guess. It doesn't make me think of mac and cheese, but it does make me think of health. In terms of speed, I tend to think of like yellows and oranges for speed. So maybe incorporating a little more yellow in the design is a good idea. For just showing, yes, it's a fast, quick meal. I think that's a good place to be, for answering 5. And then you're going to sketch out your idea here, or you can create like the template first, just kind of giving me an idea of what you're thinking for your redesign. So when you go to the template website, I'm just going to jump there now. This website is so cool. I just geek out every time I play with it. Okay. So there are lots of options here, like a lot of different things you can try. And some of them, like this one even, can just be a plain cylinder. It doesn't have to be a mitered cylinder. So if you're doing like a soda can or a bottle or something, this is probably the one that you would choose. But for mine, I'm going to just choose card box for now because I think that's the closest one that would apply to this. However, you could experiment with different packaging, like the shallow box or, maybe an elliptical box. I don't know. For now, I'm just going to kind of keep the standard boxes. I feel like that's easiest. But if you want to really, really go for it and redesign, have fun with it, as long as it makes sense for the product. Okay, so here's like the basic template. This is where you actually get into measuring. So you're going to take a ruler. I have a ruler here. Okay. And you're going to measure out the total measurement. Now this website is from the Netherlands. That's why it's .nl. I'm pretty sure it's the Netherlands. And the name of the author of the website is on there as well. So measurements are, I believe, in centimeters for most, or wait, you can change it. Never mind. So you can change it to inches or not. So this gives you an idea of it in inches, and then you could do centimeters or millimeters. I don't know why you would want to do millimeters for something this big, but maybe you do. Okay. So if I'm measuring in centimeters, it looks like this side is 17.5 tall. So just making sure I'm just measuring like the dimensions of the product. So I don't know, we'll go to, for height, 17.5 for height. So just stretch that out. But now I also have to do width. So the width is, again, I'm measuring. I'm trying to like show you on my camera here. So there we go. All right. Look at that. Almost 18, it looks like 18 centimeters. Okay, so we'll do 18 for the width. Actually, that might be length. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. That looks right. Okay, so for length, we'll just be like how wide it is, I guess. We'll see if that works. So for the width, if I like just put this box back together temporarily, this is why having the box in front of you is so helpful. Now I have it like here. Now I can just take that measurement. So again, in centimeters, 4.5 centimeters. If I'm looking at this template, I just want to make sure that's correct because I think I'm off a little bit. Let me do, I'm just going to swap these. So let's do 4.5. So it's 4.5 and 18. I'm just going to remember that, make sure this looks right. Let's see. There we go. So I should end up, theoretically, with something that looks more similar to this, which it does, right? We have the skinny sides here, skinny sides. We have the almost square, both sides of that. Okay, right? We have the little tabs, little tabbies. So it actually is pretty much the same. If I hold it like that, it's very, very identical to the original package. So this is my template. We know it's measured correctly. Now it looks like there's also a thumb hole. So that's like this little tiny thing here. I don't think I need that. So I think I can just set it to 0. There we go. So got rid of that. Let's see. So even like flap size, like that's really intricate, but basically like these little doohickeys, flap sizes, you can adjust that. Like, that's why I love this website so much. I'm not going to mess with that right now. I just want to show you kind of how this works. So you can set here like fit page to drawing. That's fine. If you know you're printing in a certain size, great. You can choose one of those. Like, I mean, even Glowforge, like crazy. We don't have a Glowforge, but that's okay. I'm just going to say fit page to drawing. I'm just doing a mock-up. I will not be making, like my final work will not be this size. This is already really big. I'm not going to make it that big, but I'm going to save it as a PDF and I'm going to click create. And it's going to create this download. But then when I open it, it has my dimensions here. And then I know that I can open this in Photoshop. So I'm going to go to Photoshop now. And we're almost done. I just kind of wanted to show you how to get set up here. So when we open it up in Photoshop, one thing you just want to make sure is that the background is transparent. And I believe it'll be default transparent just because it's a PDF. But in case I'm wrong, I'm just going to test it out. Probably going to have to log in here. So you are allowed to use Photoshop, Illustrator, basically whatever is going to be helpful for you. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I just really want to use Photopea or something, that's fine. I do recommend trying Adobe Creative Cloud just to make sure that, you know, you're getting more honed in on those skills, and because they do more than, you know, what Photopea does. You might find that Illustrator works better for some things versus others. So if you want to work part of it in Photoshop and then work on part of it in Illustrator, or like bounce back and forth, I've done that before too. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. All right. So from here, I'm going into Photoshop. I'm going to go into File, Open. Find it in my downloads. If I can find it. Oh my gosh, I have so many downloads. Okay, Card Box. There we go. And since it's a PDF, it should still open, and it would open in Illustrator as well. It's just a big file. Okay, yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting. So here is where sometimes some things can get messed up. So just FYI, mode, instead of grayscale, I would recommend setting it to CMYK color, because this is a print design. Generally, print designs are going to print in CMYK. That's cyan, magenta, yellow, and then the K stands for black. The rest of this I think is fine. I'm not too worried about like the width here. We just leave that alone. I'll go ahead and click OK, and we'll see how it looks once it loads up. Awesome. So yeah, it is default transparent. That's great. What I am going to do, I'm not too worried about like all this extra stuff around the outside. So I'm going to zoom in. Let's see if I can see it. So it's just like these labels. I'm going to erase those. So I'm going to just use my eraser tool to get rid of the labels here. Make this bigger. I basically just want a very plain, transparent background. I don't want anything else around my template here. Same with down here. Now I know it says, please refer to the very permissive license. This just means like you're not allowed to like sell this template, right? I've looked over the license. It does mean that the license does let you like use this for educational purposes. So erasing this is fine. That's not you're not breaking any rules or any laws or anything. We're just getting rid of any extra stuff. The reason why we're getting rid of extra stuff right now is because if we use the Cricut, the vinyl cutter, to cut this out, we don't want it trying to cut out a bunch of little tiny words. So we just want it to be a plain, transparent background. Okay, I'm going to zoom back out. So from here, this is where the redesign magic happens. And I can start anywhere. So let's say I want to start on this side. I could use photography. I can use my fill, paint bucket. I can use gradient. Let's say I want to use just the fill bucket here. I can go in and add whatever color I want. I can click, fill. There it is. And I can fill in each piece. If I want this part to be white, I can fill that in. Maybe I want the other part to be a darker blue. I don't know. I'm just making this up. But basically filling it in as you go along. And you can keep that red line as it is for now. And then eventually you can fill that line with a color. So if I zoom in a little bit, like maybe I just want that line to be white. Just don't totally erase it, but maybe I'll do like white here. There we go. I think it did most of the line here. I don't know if it is continuous. Yeah. So now that line is white. So when it prints, it'll just be the color of the paper then. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're filling in different pieces here. I'll fill that one in just so we can see how that looks. Whew. And since that was white, it just changed all of it to blue, but that's okay. If you want to do like a gradient, you just need to use your selection tool. So I'm going to go to my rectangular marquee tool, click and drag those exact dimensions. I have to like zoom in to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And then I'm going to right click and choose gradient. And then, from here to here, now that I have my selection on, it'll fill that in with a gradient. And I can say deselect. So just kind of getting the colors in is a big deal. Now, again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I'm trying to make this a quick video, which is difficult. But if you go in here to like nutrition label maker, you can make your own nutrition label. You can also Google it and see if you can just find the label for the product and just see if you can copy it, like steal it basically. Otherwise, you can just make it. I know it's a little bit tedious, but it's not that bad. So like servings per container, this one says 1. Serving size quantity, 1 package. So we just say like 1 package. And you'll even see, whoops, pancake, not pancake, package. There we go. Once you like generate it, you'll see how it changes. So size weight 311. Oh, wait, please enter it. Oh, we'll just say 1, I guess. 1 serving. Okay. Serving size units. Package, I think is what it says. I'm just following what it says. And then serving size is grams. That's 311. Yep. Calories, 410. And then I can just, keep going, adding all of the things. And then when I click generate, there it is. It almost looks exactly the same, except I don't have everything listed there. So from here, you can say download image, but it might prompt you to like sign up or whatever. You can just right click. I'm whispering. You can right click and say copy image, and then bring it over to your Photoshop and say Control V, and then paste it, which, okay, in that instance, it didn't work, but I can just save it too. So right click, save image as, I forgot that it's a PNG, so we'll just save it. Now I should be able to place it. So file, place embedded. There it is. Ta-da! Move it where I want it. It's always going to appear kind of blurry at first. And hit enter on the keyboard. There it is. There's my nutrition facts. Now I could put a background behind that too, but it's kind of nice that it's transparent. Super cool. And then usually you have your ingredients to follow afterwards. So that's the basics of getting started with the packaging design. I hope you have a lot of fun redesigning. It's really good experience for, just in general, right, of tackling something so big and making it hopefully better. Of course, if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask, and have fun designing.